This is a KHOU 11 News breaking news report.
And the breaking news is big news. Take a look at this. This is on the corner of West Dallas and Montrose. That is an apartment complex that is burning and burning heavily. Thick black smoke. We are told this apartment complex, which if you have been at that intersection, you know it is under construction right now. That intersection, Montrose and West Dallas, has now been shut down while firefighters attack these flames. This is a big deal because not far from there, just to the west, is another apartment complex, newly built, and on the other side of that would be the new Whole Foods that is in that neighborhood. And as the fire raged, terrified witnesses watched as firefighters saved a construction worker.
It was a surreal scene. Our Courtney Zabowski shows us exactly what those witnesses saw.
Alicia Alba watches in agony from inside a building across the street. Alba and her co-workers know what they're witnessing is a matter of life and death.
Oh, they're moving now.
A construction worker trapped on the 5th floor balcony of a burning apartment complex under construction.
Hurry! Oh my God!
They know very well what happens next could go either way as he jumps to a balcony below.
Oh my gosh.
That fire is an inferno.
And this man who was outside across the street.
Oh my gosh, there goes the roof. It's collapsing. Heads up below. Oh my God.
Can only describe it as a, quote, hell-raising experience.
Oh my God. Oh, I hope they got him off.
Relief for him could not come soon enough.
Oh, they did. Look, he's up there. He's on the ladder. He's safe. He's safe. Oh, thank God.
And then there's Ruben Hernandez, who shot this video from down below.
Good job there, buddy.
Hernandez at times said he wanted to stop rolling because the outcome he knew may not be good. A miracle, the crowd around him called it, when they witnessed the rescue that brought them all to tears.
Oh, there he is, Daniel.
And finally, video from Daniel Lopez, who was in a high-rise downtown.
Come on.
Oh my goodness. On this corner.
Wow.
People need to get him.
Everyone was pulling for the construction worker.
Hurry up, hurry, hurry. Oh my God.
They got him just in time.
Oh, there he goes, there he goes.
Because this is what happened next. Courtney Zabowski, KHOU 11 News.
Stunning, and now more viewer video. These images captured by Steve Alanese.
He works at the Allen Parkway Barbershop inside the American General Building, just a block away from that fire. And more 11 News viewers helped us capture images of the massive fire. Some were snapping shots from as far away as the Galleria area. Their vantage point from the top of office and apartment towers shows just how much smoke was billowing from that fire.
You can find a complete slideshow on our website, KHOU.com.
You know, ironically, just last night, we told you how some people are not happy about where that complex is being built.
It is right next to Magnolia Cemetery. That's the final resting place for some very prominent Houston figures. The developer, by the way, had met with cemetery owners and promised to build a wall to separate the complex from the cemetery property.
Stay with us for the latest information on that 5-alarm fire. Our coverage continues online at KHOU.com.
On a Saturday morning with an artist touching up the outside of East Downtown,
30 seconds, athletes ready!
Athletes inside CrossFit Edo were busy with a little sculpting of their own.
Go!
CrossFit is all the rage, we know that, with men and women lifting weights, jumping boxes, and rowing their way to peak physical condition. But what if?
That happened in Pleasanton, so about 30 minutes out of San Antonio.
You lost your arm in a rollover crash.
Shredded the muscle, bone, nerves, everything.
Lost your right hand to a terrorist shotgun blast.
It really was the only way to give me a good chance of long-term survival.
Chose amputation to save you from bone cancer.
I was blown up Christmas Day of 2011, stepped on a toe popper.
Or a leg to a roadside bomb in Afghanistan. Well, you compete right alongside everybody else. This competition put able-bodied and adaptive athletes side by side, where a Marine amputee can show his brute strength again, a car crash survivor can reclaim her stubborn determination, where a cancer survivor can impress on just one leg, and where Superman with just one arm can bring that shirt to life.
makes me feel like I can still be just as good, just as fit, as physically fit as the next guy, as mentally strong as the next guy.
I think we're all tough. You just need to find it within yourself. It took something like this for me to find that strength within myself.
I guess if you want to stay stuck where you're at, you stay there. If you want to move on forward, you push yourself to do it.
And then there's Justin Daniel Scott.
I broke my neck at C6, C7.
He's a partial quadriplegic, but he's here too.
When people watch me at competitions or play sports, I just want them to see me as an athlete.
People giving no excuses, and at the end of the day, we want to be on the same playing field, and we want to raise the awareness for adaptive athletes.
In my day-to-day life, I think a lot of people feel sorry for me and want to coddle me and want, to hold the door open for me, and that's great, and I appreciate it. But like even at work, I work on the 3rd floor, and I like to take the stairs.
They describe it this way: when you spent so much of your life recovering from a terrible accident, an attack, or a devastating disease, this makes you feel alive.
If you know who I am, there's no need to feel sorry. If I felt sorry for myself, I wouldn't be here.
And in watching all this, they hope you see something, or maybe see nothing unusual at all.
Look at me like a normal person, because I am. I'm just like you, you're just like me, and that's just who we are. I just happen to not have an arm.
And no excuses either to get right back into the game. Kevin Reese, KHOU, 11 News.
Now to an I-Team investigation about thousands of drivers getting billed for something they didn't do.
In this case, we were talking about toll violations sent out by the Harris County Toll Road Authority.
As Jeremy Rogowski reports, you can get accused of not paying even if you've never driven on one of those toll roads.
Wake up, Harris County. Your toll road authority is ripping people off.
Wes Jordan is one ticked-off Texan when it comes to Harris County tolls. And it all starts with where he lives.
Nowhere near Harris County.
Jordan's home and work is near Waco. But even so, Hectra, the Harris County Toll Road Authority, claimed he blew through tolls in Houston 3 times without paying.
And you're thinking what? There has to be a mistake.
A big mistake, because on the violation notice, the teeny tiny plate number in this grainy nighttime photo is nowhere close to the plates on the vehicles Jordan owns. So naturally, he called Hectra to complain.
She asked me, Mr. Jordan, do you own a Dodge?
No, he doesn't.
And the next question was, Mr. Jordan, do you own a Cadillac?
No Caddy either. Strike 2. And that's not all. The violation notice, which gave him just 2 weeks to pay before referring it to a collection firm, was sent to the wrong address.
At that point, I asked, how is it that your data is so messed up?
It's also messed up way off in Columbus, Mississippi, where Lisa Bowen lives.
They got the wrong name, the wrong tag number, and the wrong car. I thought, this is just silly.
Silly because Bowen hadn't been to Texas in 10 years. And then there's Hectra's violation notice for plate LTT 741. Bowen's is LTT 742. When you add it all up,
scam, scam, scam.
That's what Bowen and her son thought it was. Someone pretending to be Hectra fishing for money. But 6 weeks later, another letter arrived.
Demanding more money, and the amount actually doubled in 6 weeks. It's insane. That's outrageous.
So how big of a problem is this? Well, the I-Team found every year, on average, Hectra sends out more than 21,000 violation notices for license plates that flat out misread.
So we went to the Toll Road Authority to get some answers.
It seems like the system completely just failed here.
Yeah, I can't share that characterization.
He's Hectra's spokesperson, Adam Collette.
Our system is designed to be as thorough as a system of this size can possibly be.
He says Hectra has checks and balances in place to spot mistakes, including a review of every computer-generated violation photo by a human pair of eyes. And Collette is quick to declare,
our accuracy rate is about 99.5%.
But there's a slight catch to that number, because it's largely based on the number of complaints Hectra receives. So if motorists don't spot errors and don't complain, they're not factored in. And the I-Team found another problem too.
It's very frustrating.
Just ask Mike Rozier, who lives all the way in suburban Chicago. Hectra sent him this notice claiming this was his plate on a semi-truck.
I don't own a truck.
Rozier drives an Oldsmobile sedan.
So it's not even close.
What do you make of all this?
I almost feel violated, just like this notice says, violation. I feel I feel like we've been violated.
Turns out when Hectra manually reviews those plate numbers, it doesn't routinely check the type of vehicle to make sure they match. But when we asked,
wouldn't it make sense to cross-reference the digits on a plate with the make and model of the vehicle?
There's a lot more factors to that.
If you're trying to be as accurate as possible, wouldn't you want to know whether a plate belongs to a truck or a sedan?
Again, I can't answer that question without knowing all the other factors. It's just not that simple of an answer. I wish I could.
I think our viewers are going to see it pretty simple.
Sure.
And I think they're going to see you as dodging a very simple question.
I can't concur with your characterization there.
now all the drivers we featured in our story did get their violations cleared, but only after they complained or we intervened. Tomorrow night, the I-Team examines what can happen when you go to Hectra's court and why some say you don't stand a fighting chance. I'm Jeremy Rogowski, KHOU 11 News.
And our own Grace White has been marching along with these demonstrators. She joins us now with what exactly is going on and the temperament of the protest. Grace?
So far, these protesters are very noisy. They are blocking traffic, but for the most part, they've been peaceful. We've been walking with them for about 45 minutes. Right now, this is a live look at Wheeler Avenue. This group of about a couple hundred people is walking towards the University of Houston campus. We also have some aerials from Air 11 we want to show you. As you look at them, you can see this group has been blocking traffic several intersections in Southwest Houston really for the past 45 minutes. This all started at McGregor Park with a peaceful protest in solidarity of Mike Brown, of Ferguson, people rallying for justice, very upset and angry about the decision that was made last night. This group has had several confrontations with police officers. We've seen an HPD presence in front of us a couple hundred feet in front of these protesters. We've also seen HPD actually clear them from intersections, and as you can take a look around, we've seen several people actually yelling at police officers, upset that they are being asked to move, asked to get out of these streets. Of course, they have been blocking traffic. Again, for the most part, it's been very peaceful.
This is her here. This is her urn.
This is all Griselda Garza has left of her daughter.
I miss her so much.
Her ashes in an urn on a living room mantle. Her name was Cecilia, and she died in this car just days before her 21st birthday. She was making a left turn into this party rental store on busy Highway 36. Surveillance video shows what happened. A 79-year-old man slammed into the back of Duran's car, pushing her into oncoming traffic.
The one that's in the middle of the road is stuck in the car. They can't get her out.
People ran out to help. Garza would meet her badly injured daughter at the hospital.
She was just moaning like if she was in pain.
Cecilia Duran would never recover.
Because they told me, do you want to unplug her now? And I didn't. I didn't want to give her, I wanted to give her more time.
Cecilia died 32 days later, but Garza's pain was just beginning. The driver of the other car, the one Garza held responsible for Cecilia's death, got off with just a ticket for reckless driving. She wondered, where's the justice?
This man tore our family apart. I don't even know what he looks like. I don't even know who he is. I could be driving next to him or one of my kids.
Garza wanted answers, but says authorities were no help. She reached a DPS trooper and asked why the man who hit her daughter had walked away virtually free and clear.
He was given a ticket that's done and over with. That because she died 30 days after the accident, they don't consider her death his fault.
But this mother knew that wouldn't be the end of it. Griselda was right. She wasn't getting the answers that she deserved. So we reached out to DPS and asked them why something more hadn't been done. And they admitted that they had dropped the ball.
We're human. We made a mistake. It should have been done right then and there. But once you brought it to our attention, we took it and went straight to the DA's office.
When Cecilia Duran died from her injuries, the Fort Bend County DA should have been notified. But because the girl died more than a month after the accident, the case was filed differently.
That doesn't mean it's over, and that doesn't mean that the person who's responsible gets a chance to get away.
Now the case is being reopened and may go before a grand jury.
We want to know the truth and as much of the truth as we can.
Yes, we did make a mistake, and we're going to do what we have to do to fix it.
I thank God, I really do, the day you walked into our lives, because something's being done.
Now this mother says she can move on with her life, knowing she's done everything she could for her daughter. Jacqueline Crea, KHOU 11 News.
Well, they're intended to help people with disabilities get around town.
But tonight, some of the very people wheelchair ramps are built for question why the state even bothered.
As the KHOU 11 News I-Team discovered, that's because they're really ramps to nowhere. Scott Knoll explains.
That and over there.
No matter which way,
I don't see any purpose in this.
Tony Lawrence looks at it.
None whatsoever.
This is only one thing.
Big waste. Waste of time, energy, and money.
She first noticed this wheelchair ramp near her home a few weeks ago. It didn't take long for her to notice something else.
The problem is there's no sidewalk to extend it on down the Beltway.
Just a dead end. Call it a ramp to nowhere. And as she drove around,
There's one. There's some right here, too. And then there's one right here.
Lawrence found plenty more ramps not connected to sidewalks along the East Beltway.
Isn't that wonderful? I just love that one. That's my favorite one.
So how does this happen?
I know it seems like the sidewalks are not going anywhere, but the ramps are serving their purpose.
Deidrea Samuels is with TxDOT, the agency that put these in.
We want you to safely cross the street, and we want you to safely get out of the street.
But then what? We showed the ramps to a group of disability advocates.
There wasn't any thought into this.
They called this an insult.
It is just laughing on our face. Ha ha ha. We show you possibility of access, but no, you cannot get there.
While the ramps would help get them out of the road, to even get to the intersection, someone in a wheelchair would have to roll through grass or roll through traffic. In this case, along the busy Beltway 8-feeder. Would any of the four of you feel comfortable going up and down that feeder?
I wouldn't try it.
The only way I would even consider anybody using this ramp is like if they were depressed and wanted to commit suicide.
It's that bad.
It's that bad.
TxDOT says it's just following the Americans with Disabilities Act, which requires the curb ramps, but not sidewalks.
But they can't go anywhere once they get to the other side.
They may be on grass, but they are off the street, which in urban areas, the street is very dangerous.
TxDOT couldn't tell us how many of the ramps don't connect to sidewalks, but in just a few hours with these advocates, we found nearly a dozen of the dead ends.
What are we supposed to do with this?
I don't know.
And with a price tag of $1,200 each, this group has a message for the state. If this is the best you can do, save them the favor.
We'd rather see nothing, because when I see nothing, I know that at least precious funding and taxpayer dollars have not been thrown away.
TxDOT says in the last few years, it started incorporating sidewalks into its project plans. I asked why it took more than 20 years after federal law started requiring ramps for the state to include sidewalks. A TxDOT spokeswoman told me, well, she didn't have a good answer for that. I'm Scott Knoll, KHOU 11 News.
A Houston apartment complex notorious for its poverty and its crime is getting a makeover thanks to a millionaire on a mission. Our Marcelino Benito shows us how this man is changing lives at 7400 Bissonnette.
Past the graffitied gate and the razor-sharp wire.
Scary? Scary?
Life inside 7400 Bissonnette isn't pretty. So bad, even the ants run the other way.
This place had such a bad reputation.
For decades, it's been known in Houston for crime tape, murder, and mayhem.
It was so bad that some of the gang members tattooed the address on their skin. They had 7400 tattooed on them because it was their home.
Now it's home to a Houston millionaire.
Most of the houses in River Oaks, I could afford about most any of them.
But landlord Steve Moore lives among his tenants.
They call me El Señor.
Upstairs in a small rundown space, apartment 1522. Cracks in the floor, a gaping hole in the ceiling, air conditioning that doesn't quite cool.
Yesterday it was leaking so bad we opened it up from the inside and...
His unit needs work. So does his crumbling complex.
So we've just been scrambling to take care of all the stuff that's been going on for years and years.
In just 4 short weeks, this place already has a very different feel. But Steve says changing this property, changing the lives of these residents, won't happen overnight. It's going to take some time.
The place was a garbage dump.
Trash, old mattresses, and litter used to pile up everywhere. Now garbage, for the most part, stays in the dumpsters. The water still leaks, but not as often. The front facade has a new look too. It's progress, although painfully slow. That serves a purpose.
It's when we see the light. He started taking care of this place.
Despite the warnings from his millionaire friends, Steve now lives and walks around a complex once controlled by gangs.
Well, I do have the life insurance now. The priority number one is safety.
One rule at a time. He started a 10 p.m. curfew, among other new rules.
We have a pull up your pants rule. You can't wear saggy pants or you will get fined.
Tough rules that have led to 10 evictions already.
We're just going to continue to tighten down till this place looks and feels like a place where not just me, but you would be, well, I could live here.
For now, the mothers that do choose to raise their kids here are starting to feel pride.
He cares about the property.
And gratitude for a man who cares for more than the buildings he's vowed to revamp.
And here I'm connected with what I'm spending my money on, and I'm getting a lot of personal gratification. You know, I can influence the lives of these people.
For this millionaire, his most valuable investment is people. He's putting his heart where his money is. Marcelino Benito, KHOU 11 News.
The search continues for the gunman who killed a 20-year-old man in southeast Houston.
It led to the suspect's father driving wildly through a frightened crowd. Our Kevin Reese was there and gives us a closer look at how all this started.
The Belle Arbor Apartments was already the scene of tremendous grief, a family inconsolable. Their son, 20-year-old DeMarcus Harrison, dead from several gunshots, and the shooter still on the run.
The dude who had the gun ran off and he jumped out the back window.
And everyone in the crowd said they knew who the gunman was, that he was this man's son. This is Anthony Lewis III, shown in our video talking with police.
He didn't have to kill him. He didn't have to kill him.
The victim's family knew who he was too.
See, his dad is sitting over there in that gray car, you know, like nothing happened.
That's when someone hurled a bicycle at that man's car. And then he began driving wildly through the crowd. On his first pass, narrowly missing 2 young girls. On his second pass across the apartment complex lawn, knocking more people to the ground. When he stepped out of the car, police slammed him to the ground, putting a temporary stop to a bitter family feud.
Stop resisting! I'm not, boss! Stop resisting! I'm not, boss!
Anthony Lewis III is now in jail, charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. But police are still looking for his 18-year-old son, who reportedly called his dad after the shooting Wednesday, admitting what he'd done.
Because it all could have been avoided. All this is nonsense. This is nonsense.
Nonsense in an embattled neighborhood where violent crime is often expected and often all too real. Kevin Reese, KHOU 11 News.
So lucky no one else was hurt. And this same street where this incident happened was the scene of a deadly police-involved shooting earlier this week. Now to an I-Team investigation into a local attorney who may be in more trouble than many of her clients.
That is because she's been practicing law with a suspended license.
Investigative reporter Scott Knoll tracked her down to find out why.
It's a typical morning at the Harris County Criminal Courts.
What is that?
But for Stanley Denny, typical isn't a good thing.
I've been coming to court now since October and I've been getting jacked around every time.
Accused of drunk driving, Denny tried fighting the charges for months. The problem, his attorney kept missing court.
I tried to call her like all day long. I couldn't get hold of her.
And he's not alone. We found Rodolfo Garzo pacing nervously, trying to find his defense lawyer too.
She goes MIA all of a sudden and I'm left hanging.
He says it's happened over and over since late summer as he's fought an assault charge.
Very unreliable, man. Very, very unprofessional.
But the I-Team discovered something about Garza's attorney, something he doesn't know but should. It turns out she's not supposed to be practicing law.
Her license to practice law has been suspended in Texas since February.
Oh,
She is Erin Elizabeth Stanley. Her law license administratively suspended in February 2013, nearly a year ago. Even more astonishing, not only did she keep practicing, she kept appearing before a judge and in court, defending at least 7 clients in the Harris County criminal courts, even taking on new clients like Garza.
She never told you her license wasn't valid.
No.
And she kept taking your money.
Yeah. Smoothly.
Same lawyer, same story for Stanley Denny.
He's already paid her $1,500 and I don't have an attorney now.
So we tracked down Erin Stanley, state bar card number 24059264.
I want to know why you're practicing law on a suspended license.
Oh, I have no comment.
You're repeatedly taking money from clients when you don't have a valid license. These people trust you to try to keep them out of jail. And you don't even bother showing up.
I would prefer not to make a comment on the record about this.
Why not? Don't these people who have paid you money to represent them deserve some answers?
Well, they can speak with my attorney then.
The one person you can count on, your champion, your warrior, is your lawyer.
He's South Texas College of Law Dean Gerald Treese. He says what we found is a hole in the system that needs to be fixed.
You've got to be certain that that lawyer is one who has the blessing from the State Bar of Texas, that lawyer can practice.
And yet last year, the State Bar found 23 cases where attorneys with suspended licenses were still practicing law, even though the bar provides this online list of ineligible lawyers, a list court officials are told to check.
I want to talk to you about how an attorney with a suspended license was able to practice in your court.
Mark Carter is the judge in the 228th District Court.
It is a violation of the Judicial Code of Conduct for me to talk to you about that case.
A case in his court where Aaron Stanley defended a client, even though months earlier another lawyer filed this motion alerting the court Stanley's license was suspended. A red flag apparently missed as Stanley continued practicing law in Carter's court.
Your court was notified in writing she was ineligible, and she was able to practice months later in your court.
Why do you want me to violate the Code of Judicial Conduct?
But get this, topping it all off, not long after, Stanley was arrested, charged with felony possession of methamphetamine. So what happened next? Stanley bailed herself out and went right back to practicing law in the courts of Harris County.
No apologies. No regret for what you've done.
I'm not going to make any more comments. That's all I can tell you.
All this started when Stanley defaulted on her student loan. The State Bar says that's why her license is suspended. But the problems don't stop there. Just days after we spoke with her, Stanley was arrested again, charged with another count of drug possession. Now, if you want to see if an attorney is eligible to practice in Texas, go to the State Bar's website. We put a link to it at our story at KHOU.com. I'm Scott Knoll, KHOU 11 News.
It's a quiet scene. Birds and turtles dot a little pond, but there's a house through those woods, $3.17 a gallon nearby, and something bubbling just below the surface.
This big of an alligator is too big for this pond.
So Gator Chris Stevens is here to pull it out, hoping to catch a hook on a scaly hide.
Gator on, baby!
In an instant, it's all thrashing tail and fighting to hold on.
Oh yeah, big boy! Oh, yeah!
Then it's time for some daddy-daughter bonding.
Keep it low. Don't let it be straight. You gotta bend your rod.
13-year-old Taylor Stevens covers her head and climbs on.
Go quick.
A Missouri City police officer steps in to tape her mouth.
Thanks for your help.
And with calm restored, Chris notices something.
But it's fat. Holy cow.
So as they pull it out, he reminds a gathering crowd.
Tell anybody you know, don't feed alligators. They get aggressive toward people. Now to come take them out.
Once an alligator gets fed enough, it'll start approaching people. And that's what happened here.
The next person may have their chihuahua with them. And the gator's not mean. He's just thinking, ooh, they brought me a chihuahua today.
Now that I can't be alligator bait, I not so bravely spring into action, helping carry her to a new home. Yeah, the tail's heavy enough, I know that. But remember, only trained and state-licensed nuisance hunters like Gator Chris can try this.
I've done this a lot.
I've been doing it since I was 4, so it's not scary, it's more of a routine.
This girl's big belly is a sign she's been overfed. That's a problem, but it's also what will save her life. Since she's big and healthy and a female, she'll go to an alligator farm in El Campo. While the Stevens duo will keep taking every chance to teach alligator etiquette.
They get fat from eating too many cheeseburgers?
And pack up for the next fight. In Sienna Plantation, Alice Barr, KHOU 11 News.
If anyone ever needed an angel, it was Christina Dharam Singh. When she was very young, she married a handsome devil, and soon she was living in hell.
Grabbing me and throwing me across the room, kicking me, stomping on me, spitting on me, and all of that was normal for him.
There were also knife sessions when her husband would test the sharpness of his machetes on her. One day,
he came down, locked the door, stripped me naked, tied me up to the boiler room. I just wanted to die because I was tired of the 15 years of rape, torture, beatings, and abuse.
This time he began cutting on her more violently.
I just knew that moment I was going to die.
But all of a sudden, Christina's husband stopped and left the house. There was no one else around. And then
I felt the presence of someone in the room, and the ropes were untied.
Christina has no doubt that an angel untied her. And then there's the case of Barbara Snitkin.
The tractor rolled over me.
It was 1959 near Warden. She was riding on the hood of a tractor when it hit a hole and flipped onto her. She remembers dying and seeing a light and a friend who had been killed in a car wreck just a few weeks before.
David, or we called him Red. He had on a white cowboy shirt with silver snaps. His blue jeans were pressed perfect. His FFA belt buckle was gleaming, and he came reaching for my hand.
But Barbara says she let go and returned to Earth for her parents' sake.
I think angels sometimes present themselves into forms that we can say yes and accept.
Author and angel expert Cindy Klein says that's what happened to Barbara.
Once you've had an experience, you can't help but believe.
Christina Thorson's help from heaven came during a motorcycle ride with her husband near Cut-and-Shoot.
A lady was at a stop sign, didn't see it.
The car hit them, her husband went sliding down the road with the bike, and Christina went airborne.
Then I remember waking up flipping through the air. It just seemed like I was going to flip forever.
She lost part of a leg and would require 13 surgeries. As she lay in the road,
I just cried out to God, God help me. God help me. I was like a little girl crying for their daddy or their mama.
And that's when she says God sent an angel.
I can see him. He's wearing cowboy boots, blue jeans.
So you believe this man was an angel?
I believe he was the answer to my cry to God. That torturous pain that I've never felt anything like in my life was gone. No one saw this man, no one saw anyone walk up to me that fit his description at all.
Clinical psychologist Ed Reitman says seeing angels during times of trauma could simply be the brain's way of coping.
It feels awful good to know there's someone, something there that we can have faith in.
But for true believers like Christina Dharam Singh, there's no doubt about help from heaven.
I feel very blessed that God has angels looking after me.
Sherry Williams, KHOU 11 News.
The KHOU I-Team has confirmed the officer who took his life was under internal investigation.
It's a story our Jeremy Rogowski has been tracking for weeks. He joins us now with exclusive details. Jeremy?
Well, Greg and Lisa, we know who this officer is, but out of respect for the family, we are choosing not to release his name until HPD officially does so. But through multiple sources, we do know HPD relieved him of duty today. He's one of 4 officers relieved of duty and ordered to turn in their badges amid a ticket rigging investigation that we've been tracking for weeks.
How could officers possibly be in 2 places at once? That's what the I-Team found took place, if you believe dozens of speeding tickets written by HPD's Traffic Enforcement Unit, including the officer who took his own life. For instance, he's listed on these 2 tickets, written at the same time on the Katy Freeway. The first near Westcott Street as a witnessing officer, the second writing a ticket near Gessner Road. That's 7 miles away. Or there's this set of questionable tickets on I-10. The same officer is supposedly at Westcott Street witnessing a speeder, but somehow 9 miles away at Wilcrest Drive, writing up a citizen at the same exact time. And we also found cases in which the officer was listed on 2 completely different roads. In this example, at 12:52 in the morning, the same officer is listed at 610 in Memorial, but also at 12:52, he's at I-10 in Gessner. The facts show it's fiction. So what would be the motivation? Court overtime, sources tell the I-Team. Witnessing officers are subpoenaed and must appear ready to testify. Turns out records show the officer who killed himself made $158,000 in overtime over the past 3 years.
Now it's unclear how much of that overtime was linked to the questionable tickets. But again, the officer who took his life learned earlier today he was relieved of duty, ordered to turn in his badge, and stripped of his police powers. It's an action that HPD traditionally has taken in only the most serious of cases, that may result in criminal charges. Jeremy Rogowski, KHOU 11 News.
Veterans Day is about honoring service. On Kaler Street, it's about service to those who served.
As soon as I heard that we were doing a veterans home, just trying to do my part.
Plenty to do here.
Electrical was bad, the gas didn't work, the appliances didn't work.
Put it right by the driveway. The list goes on. Enter Rebuilding Together and volunteers from local Home Depots.
I've always envied the older vets. You know, they didn't have what we had. They had to rough it a lot worse than we did.
Johnny Marino's 95. Been roughing it here on Kaler Street for years. Thomas Bourgeois has been to war. Still.
I can't even imagine what he went through to do that type of, to serve the country in that way.
Marino remembers it like it was yesterday.
We didn't know anything about D-Day. They didn't tell the soldiers.
June 6th, around 6 in the morning.
That's where hell started. Because the Germans, they were up here. We were down there. They were shooting down there. They could see you.
The greatest generation is dwindling too fast. For Johnny Marino, now thanks to these folks, at least there's comfort.
I want to thank you very much from the bottom of my heart.
Another life chapter, this one, for him.
I really am thinking of writing a book.
He's sure got enough stories for one, starting way back.
That's the greatest rank in the whole Army, you know, because you're private, you're first class.
After all that he's done, it is Johnny that feels the need to give thanks on this Veterans Day. First class, all right. Service and the served. Jeremy Diesel, KHOU 11 News.
Well, I had the every man's dream life, I guess.
His name is Timothy Marsh, a husband, a father to a blended family of 7 kids. He did have every man's dream. You can see it in his family pictures. But then one morning, he just didn't have the strength to get out of bed.
They did a scan, and that's what they came back and said, that you had cancer.
My knees buckled when the doctor said that.
His wife, Eleanor, remembers the exact moment. So does his daughter, Andronique.
I just immediately broke down because I couldn't imagine life, you know, without my father.
And that just turned our world just completely upside down.
Because doctors gave him just 3 months to live, 6 months at most. And as he prepared himself for the end, he had one regret. He wouldn't live long enough to walk his daughter down the aisle at her wedding scheduled for next year.
We can ride it out and, you know, die. Or we can be a light and be a testimony to other people.
Timothy Marsh chose to be a light. It happened on Father's Day, River Point Church in Richmond. He chose the music himself.
I watched you dance like Cinderella.
A song called Daddy's Little Girl.
We gather here because this dad knows how important it is to show up for his family.
The ceremony was a mock wedding, but a real chance to be the dad he wanted to be.
And when you say I love you, Dad.
And then he did the same for his 7-year-old daughter, too.
Strength that it took for him to do that, and it took a lot.
This man, he's so weak at this point, but he gave all of his strength to do this for me.
Timothy Marsh made that walk with his last ounce of strength. He died just 8 days later, but he left his daughters a memory.
It touched my heart. It touched my soul so much.
And he hoped for other dads, he left a message.
That this would just get some other man to step up and see how important it is that the man is the first man that his daughter is going to look at. And it is.
Now when I look at it, I smile. He did all this for me and for my little sister just to make us happy.
That was the best gift.
A gift for a daughter, a message for dads to be there for their family even to the end.
Because once you're gone, all you have is memories. So just cherish her, cherish each other.
Because who a dad is to his daughter matters forever. Kevin Reese, KHOU. 11 News.
Live, KHOU 11 News at 10 starts now.
They need to get that guy out.
Firefighters rushed to save a worker as the flames moved in. Tonight, hear from the hero who pulled him to safety.
Grief and unanswered questions as the community remembered a murdered teenager tonight.
And see how HPD officers are going undercover to catch drivers behaving badly.
But we are beginning with that massive fire that brought down an apartment complex that was under construction near downtown Houston.
Close to 200 firefighters spent hours battling the flames, but in the end, most of the 396 apartments were destroyed. This is a live look from our tower cam tonight at the scene on Montrose in West Dallas near downtown.
The fire department still has several streets blocked off around that building, and the water is still flowing as they try to put out the hot spots. Our Rux Russell is there live with the very latest. Rux?
Hey guys, you know what? I want to step out of the way because we've noticed some activity behind us. That is some construction equipment. It looks like they're starting to take down portions of the building that remained very unstable because of all of that fire damage. You know, I asked officials, they couldn't recall the last time there was a 5-alarm fire here in Houston, so this was a very rare and at times frightening event in a crowded neighborhood in the middle of the afternoon. A raging wall of intense flames, sending a column of black smoke billowing into the air like a volcanic plume. This was the scene at West Dallas and Montrose as fire enveloped a brand new apartment complex under construction.
It's spreading like crazy. You can still see the flames going. They're crazy.
Crazy to witnesses like Jerry. Frightening to people who saw this. A trapped construction worker leaping from a ledge before being plucked to safety by a firefighter on a ladder.
Thank God. That was crazy.
Ruben Hernandez was across the street when it happened.
And there were people screaming and yelling to rescue him. I mean, it didn't seem real. I've never experienced that before.
But imagine being inside the building when the wind-fed flames began to spread. This picture shows what the fire was like just after it started. Within minutes, it had become an inferno that would eventually climb to 5 alarms. Raul Hernandez was working inside when the fire broke out.
But then finally, I just decided to come down because everybody was hollering, yelling, and screaming, asking us to come down. So.
How lucky do you feel that you got out?
Well, I don't feel lucky, I feel blessed.
And so should this man, rescued, say officials, just in time.
If any more seconds would have been delayed, there's a possibility it wouldn't have been a rescue, and there's a huge possibility of either great injury or even a fatality.
But no one was killed, no one was hurt, and what was once a massive fire is now the scene of a major investigation. And that investigation just getting underway, complicated, of course, by the structural integrity or lack thereof of these buildings behind me. Officials tell me that arson investigators are also on the scene out here. That is standard procedure. Still no word, of course, on what caused this blaze. I'm reporting live in Montrose tonight. Rux Russell, KHOU 11 News.
Thank you, Rux. Many people are still talking about that daring rescue of the construction worker before flames tore through the building. Here's a look at those dramatic moments from the people who saw the drama unfold right before them.
He popped out of those doors, and I was like, oh my God, there's a guy up there.
They can't see him. No, they can't see him. They can't see him. He's waving. Oh my God.
That fire is an inferno.
There were people screaming and yelling to rescue him. I mean, it didn't seem real. I've never experienced that before.
They need to get that guy out.
The man is on the second balcony right there. It looks like the fire folks are trying to get him right now.
Did he just jump? No. He has to. He has to. He has to just jump. Oh, they're bringing in the ladder.
At that moment, the wind kicked up, and he panicked. He was, I'm sure, very hot. So he jumped down from that top-story balcony to the one underneath him.
If I can feel it right here, he can feel it. Oh my gosh.
So he literally hung off of that balcony, swung his lower feet, and let go.
Good job, everybody. It was too hot up there for him.
At that point, the ladder crew was rescued him.
Oh, I hope they got him off. Oh, they did. Look, he's up there. He's on the ladder. He's safe. He's safe. Oh, thank God.
After that, you know, the whole building started falling apart.
Oh my gosh, there goes the roof. It's collapsing. Heads up below. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Incredible to watch that rescue. Let's go now to Tim Wetzel, who's live with the firefighter who was at the end of that ladder to pull the worker to safety. Tim?
Yeah, hey guys, Captain Brad Hawthorne has been with the department for 25 years, and this will be a day certainly you will not forget. Can you walk me through what happened this afternoon?
Well, we arrived and Chief told us there was 3 guys on the roof, and we set the ladder up to the roof, and as we was getting up to the roof, he popped out on the little balcony on the 5th floor, and my chauffeur Dwayne here, he saw him over and he started moving the ladder, get him over to the, get him lined up, and he got the ladder. You know, he jumped from the 5th to the 4th floor, and we picked him off the 4th floor. He got it close enough to the ladder, and he was able to jump to the ladder actually a couple of feet.
And you said just as he jumped on the ladder, the roof collapsed. So you were in the right place at the right time. What's it like to save someone's life like that?
It was it was pretty amazing. But you know, we train a lot for, you know, situations. But when it all kind of ties together with just timing and everything, it really pays off.
And you said he actually talked to you when he got on that ladder. What did he say?
He said, "Thank you, Jesus."
All right, well, thank God you were there, and good work to you guys. Thank you so much. Back to you guys in the studio.
All right, Tim, thanks, and our thanks to the firefighters as well. And our thanks to so many of you who shared your pictures and videos today. Besides the ones that you've seen on the air, you'll find many more of these incredible images online at KHOU.com and our KHOU Facebook page.
Now to the emotional gathering tonight in Pearland as friends and family struggle to understand who would murder a teenage girl loved by so many. Drew Caritas has the story.
We thank you, Lord, for the 16 years that you allowed Ariana to be a part of our lives.
Prayers sweeping through a sea of people.
We pray that you would open the detectives' eyes that whatever they're missing,
which would explain to this crowd the biggest question of why.
Remind us, Lord, that your word declares that earth has no sorrow that heaven cannot heal.
For now, they wait for justice in the unexplained murder of 16-year-old Ariana Hill. This community has been rocked since the news surfaced on Friday that Hill's body had been discovered inside a home in an upscale guard-gated community on East Cedar Hollow Drive.
It is not an easy task. We don't have any answers. The biggest question is why.
Parents have been trying to console their children, which has been difficult, with speculation on social media as to what could have happened to the popular student at Dawson High.
It's all a mystery to everybody. Nobody knows the reason why. We're all puzzled to this day, but we pray that justice will be done.
Teammates from the track and volleyball teams remembering a dear friend who was always there. Classmates say Ariana was liked by all.
No one could ever dislike her. She has the most beautiful heart.
They struggled to find words for the person who took her.
I just hope they catch her. How could they do this to her?
But with their anger aside and faith in the foreground, this community let go of the uncertainty, releasing pink and purple balloons for the girl already missed by so many people.
And we're told it was a female resident who discovered Ariana's body and dialed 911. Police still have not identified who that 911 caller is. The 16-year-old leaves behind her parents and 2 brothers. They were here tonight, leaning on each other and the church community for support. We're live in Pearland tonight. Drew Caritas, KHOU 11 News.
All right, Drew, thanks. And now to an I-Team investigation at a local college campus.
That's where one student claims a teacher made a critical mistake that cost a class good grades.
And Courtney Zawalski went to find out more.
It was while studying a science where objects grow larger under the lens that A student Lauren Furman had a problem with something that kept getting smaller.
I was getting 40s on every test.
Her grades in Intro to Chemistry.
I studied as hard as I could, did everything in my power to try to change my grade.
At Lone Star College, University Park, where all semester she kept getting D's and even F's. But then her teacher, Tal Shirley Wynn, pictured here, admitted something.
She told us her mistake in class to all the students.
Just before giving them their final exam.
And what was her mistake?
She was teaching general chemistry, another course, all semester.
Teaching them not a beginning class, but an advanced course in chemistry. But Furman says Wynn also had a solution. She would add extra credit to their grades. Furman says that boosted her F to a B, but wouldn't help her keep her straight A average.
4.0 students were really stressed out altogether, but this just added to it to see what I've been working for 2 years be destroyed.
So we went to talk with Ms. Wynn.
Did you tell the students that you taught the wrong class? Comments.
With her at Houston Community College, where she also teaches.
You taught the wrong class? Comments. Can you say, I mean, because it's the students who are wondering what's going on. No comments. You can't comment at all.
So we went to the administration.
She followed the syllabus and taught from the 1405 textbook.
He's John Powell with Lone Star University Park.
Students are claiming that the teacher in the class told them point blank, I taught the wrong class.
I wasn't there, and we weren't there, you weren't there. We can't comment on what someone may have said in class.
But take a look at this, an email reply to a complaining student, Furman, from the college's head of the science department, saying this was not intentional on Miss Wynn's part. She was new to the introductory level. Lone Star's comment?
They were taught the right class.
So we asked about the possibility of an investigation.
As a rule, we don't do investigations of classes.
I'm asking about a formal investigation by a college after a teacher allegedly told students that she taught the wrong class.
No, I would not do a formal investigation, no.
Now, another Lone Star student told us that Wynn admitted to teaching an advanced course, but also said that she still signed up for another class with the teacher. As for Lauren Furman, she appealed her B grade in the course, but Lone Star ruled against it. Courtney Zabowski, KHOU 11 News.
Drivers beware. Hear how Houston police are going undercover to make the roads safer for cyclists. Next.
There is good news tonight about the wildlife caught up in the weekend oil spill.
And why a school is punishing a young girl for showing support for a sick friend.
Winds are out of the north today. They're going to shift to the south. It's going to be gusty by tomorrow afternoon. This also means rain chances are coming in. We'll plan tomorrow's commute and talk about the severe threat for Thursday coming up.
Watch out on the roads. The next HPD officer you see may not be in a cruiser or even in uniform. Police are now working undercover on two wheels to catch drivers breaking the rules of the road. Our Doug Miller has the story only on KHOU 11 News.
My name is Stephen Klein.
On a bicycle he bought at a garage sale for $45, Stephen Klein gets around Houston.
You almost get to slow down and stop and smell the roses. Like, I get to see things that I'd never thought I'd see before.
But one thing he never imagined he'd see were drivers trying to run him off the road.
You stay to the right and you'll have motorists that'll come by and they'll rev their engine real loud, or they'll honk, or they'll try to get as close as they can just to let you know that you shouldn't feel comfortable on the road.
A bicyclist will tell you it happens all the time in Houston, even though it's against the law.
Maintain a separation of no less than 3 feet when passing a cyclist.
See, in Houston, drivers are supposed to stay 3 feet away when they're passing bike riders. Now Houston police have adopted an unorthodox enforcement tactic.
So many drivers are disobeying the distance rules on bicycles. Houston police officers are actually going undercover, trying to catch motorists who don't give bicyclists enough room.
What that simply means is that there are officers out there on bicycles, dressed as normal citizens, who are just riding around town. There's somebody watching them to see if people are encroaching upon them.
And they've done this for about 3 weeks now in high bike traffic areas like downtown and the Washington corridor. So far, though, they've handed out only 3 citations.
I love it.
Still, bicyclists like Stephen Klein are glad to hear about it.
I think it's a good idea because, that's our big complaint for all the cyclists.
As for drivers, well, just beware. That cyclist pedaling down the street just may be an undercover cop. Doug Miller, KHOU 11 News.
The oil that slipped into the Houston Ship Channel Saturday has mostly moved out into the Gulf, but forecasters say a change in wind direction could send it back towards land closer to Matagorda County and Port Lavaca later this week. The Coast Guard reopened the Ship Channel today, but with more than 100 vessels waiting to leave or enter, it could take days to clear that backlog. And then there's the cleanup. Some of the 170,000 gallons of oil that spilled now blackens the coastline.
As with any oil spill, there is a risk to wildlife, but we're happy to say, at least at first glance, this one appears to have caused minimal damage. A wildlife rehab facility in Baytown says it knows of 8 birds that have died and 8 more that were brought in to be rehabilitated.
I suspect we'll get more in. However, I think we're doing pretty good so far. I'm not seeing as many as I suspected to see.
The birds at that facility will undergo a thorough cleaning and should be released back into the wild in just a couple of weeks.
A little bit of good news there.
Good to hear.
Glad to hear it. All right, David Paul, let's talk about some changes to the forecast.
Yeah, not only is the wind going to change directions on us tomorrow, but also rain chances are going to begin to work their way into the forecast tomorrow. In fact, maybe even as early as tomorrow morning's commute. So changes are on the way after today's gusty north wind, which helped to fuel this big fire. Winds turn out of the south and east. Onshore wind at 15 to 20 miles an hour, maybe more gusty than that near the coast. This will churn up the seas. It makes collecting the oil more difficult for the booms and the boats that are pulling those buoys trying to pick it up. But the more the water actually churns up, that's Mother Nature's way of kind of taking care of some of that oil as well. I'm very glad to hear that reports coming in are showing that it's not as bad as it could have been. Rain chance tomorrow increases, and then there is a severe threat, a slight severe threat on Thursday, mainly north of I-10, hail, wind. Even an isolated tornado may be possible in some of the isolated severe cells on Thursday. More on that in a minute. Here's tomorrow morning's numbers. 50 in the morning with a 20% rain chance for the morning commute. It's a 40% rain chance by lunchtime. 40% rain chance lasts through the afternoon. High temp goes to the mid-60s. Here's the storm system, and in fact, you can see the clouds beginning to billow right here, out ahead of that storm system. It's coming our way. That's what will be giving us the rain chance. Future track gives us a slight rain chance on the north and west side, even maybe into Houston and Tomball by 7 a.m. in the morning, and then by lunchtime, it pushes a batch of rain into Houston. So your lunch hour may be a little bit wet and slow. Tomball to Sugar Land down to Wharton, down the 59 corridor, may see some of the heavier stuff tomorrow, and then it wants to push east, and we may end up getting a little break for your evening commute and evening activities and practices and such tomorrow. But not so on Thursday. And notice the isolated nature of these showers. See how they're kind of they're very discreet, and that's when we could see isolated severe cells. And some of these north and especially north and east of the area could see those severe limits reached. Maybe hail, maybe an isolated tornado. So we're going to be on weather watch as we go through the afternoon on Thursday. More coverage Thursday afternoon. Your afternoon and evening activities Thursday don't look good weather-wise. You may want to plan ahead. Spring's 56, Galveston's at 59. It's nice and cool out there. Here's how those winds are going to shift to the south and east, and they will be gusty coming off the Gulf for the next couple of days. In the morning, cloudy, slight rain chance, upper 40s north side. Lows near 50 as you get up on the south side, so a light jacket in the morning, and toss an umbrella in the car with you. You'll need it off and on Wednesday, and I think you're really going to need it Thursday. And again, Thursday is a good day to follow us here. Also, Facebook and Twitter will keep you posted through the day. We clear out Friday, 83, and then I think the weekend's looking pretty good. We need the rain, but we're in springtime, and it's spring storm season, so we'll be watching the weather carefully Thursday.
All right. Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Dave. Now for the latest on that massive mudslide in Washington State. This is an image of how the land looked before the slide.
And here's after. Look at it now. That is more than a square mile of land that slid down the hill and buried dozens of houses. Search crews found 2 more bodies today, and sadly, they say that number will grow.
176 people are still unaccounted for. Terry Okita has the latest on the search.
2 more bodies were recovered from the mud and debris where a mudslide tore through a small Washington state town. And authorities say there is more grim work ahead.
We've located another 8 fatalities. However, we have not recovered those at this time.
Scores of people remain missing, but exactly how many is not yet known. Restored electricity and internet service to nearby Darrington are helping families reconnect with loved ones, but that's not slowing down the search.
We're going at this hard to get everybody that's out there that's missing.
But it's not just professional rescue crews who are out searching. Dozens of volunteers showed up this morning at the fire department, eager to help out any way they could. That's because this isn't a community of strangers.
Up and over the creek, up and over the first part of debris, and bam, there was the first body.
To Aaron Bright, it's family. He's out there looking for his cousin, Summer Raffo. She was driving through Oso, Washington, when the hillside gave way. He says everywhere he looks, there's heartache.
Hardest part is to see kids out there digging up their parents.
He's also comforting his aunt, Ray Smith. She says she doesn't think her daughter, Summer, survived.
I'm waiting for someone to tell me they found my daughter.
And she says she'll keep waiting.
Terry Okita, KHOU 11 News.
Up next, hear why the search for Flight 370 was suspended today.
Bad weather has forced officials to suspend the search for debris from Flight 370.
The storms are so strong in the search zone, some ships were blown 100 miles off course. Authorities say before the storm, they thought they were close to objects seen from the sky yesterday, but now it's hard to say.
It's very easy to speculate about being close. Close in this part of the world could be several hundred kilometres.
We're not searching for a needle in a haystack. We're still trying to define where the haystack is.
The search is likely to resume tomorrow. South Korea is the latest country to join the international effort.
Coming up, it's a top 15 matchup in college baseball as Rice takes on the University of Houston.
Plus, why a young girl is being punished for shaving her head for a friend fighting cancer.
KHOU-11 Sports Director Bob Allen.
Well, normally we don't lead the sportscast with college baseball, but here in Houston we've got the 11th ranked team in the nation and Rice and the 14th ranked team at the University of Houston, and they played each other tonight over at Cougar Field. Rice batting in the top of the first inning. Shane Holscher drives the ball to center field. Skylar Ewing comes home to make it 2-0 Owls after a half inning. But in the bottom of the first inning, Josh Vidalis slices the ball into left field. That brings home 2 runs. Cougars take a 3-2 lead. Then Jordan Stading comes to the plate, delivers the single up the middle, 2 more score. Cougars go on to win at 6-2, brings the silver glove back to the University of Houston. And today, Texas beat Texas State 5-1. Longhorns coach Augie Garrido becomes the winningest coach in college baseball history, 1,894 wins. Wow, great body of work. Astros open up the new season a week from tonight with the Yankees coming to town for 3 games. Payroll figures announced today. Once again, Astros with the lowest payroll in the majors, $45 million. That's up, though, $18 million from last year. Yankees have had the highest payroll for the last 15 years until now. Dodgers now have that, $235 million. Yankees are second, $204 million. Sad news about one of the nicest people and best athletes to ever come through Houston. Football Hall of Famer Jim Kelly has had a recurrence of the jaw cancer he was treated for last year, and his wife says it's aggressive and it's spreading. This is a recent photo of Kelly's daughter that Kelly's daughter tweeted from the hospital saying her dad was being his usual strong self. He's scheduled to undergo more surgery on Thursday in New York City. Kelly's first year in pro football with the USFL Houston Gamblers in 1984, where he ran one of the most prolific, fun offenses to watch, the run and shoot. Jack Pardee, head coach of the Gamblers then. When the league folded, he joined the Buffalo Bills, where he led the team to 4 straight Super Bowls without winning one. He's one of the really good guys in sports. And this news comes on the day that Bills owner Ralph Wilson passed away at age 95. Wilson, along with Bud Adams, among the founders of the American Football League. And Rice has hired a new basketball coach to replace Ken Braun. 40-year-old Michael Rhodes comes here after being an assistant at Virginia Commonwealth the last 3 years. For the 10 years preceding that, he was the head coach at Division III Randolph-Macon, where he finished 197-97. Not to overstate things, but the man's got a lot of work ahead of him over on South Main.
If Dayton and Mercer can do it, why not Rice?
Yes, they can. I'm done.
Okay, they were making sure.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks, Bob.
I'm finished.
All right, up next, how a little girl's show of support lands her in trouble at school.
Be the first to know when big news breaks. Follow KHOU-11 News on Twitter.
An Oregon girl's good deed has led to some bad publicity for her elementary school.
9-year-old Cameron shaved her head to support her best friend Delaney as she battles cancer. But the school took one look at Cameron's bald head yesterday, and you know what they did? They kicked her out of class, saying the look violates school policy.
Apparently, it is against the rules for girls to voluntarily have no hair. Even so, the friends have no regrets.
I just want to say thank you for being a really good friend and actually being brave enough to do it.
I did it so she didn't have to feel left out.
As you can imagine, the school took a lot of heat for that decision yesterday. Tonight, well, they held a special session and voted to make an exception for Cameron so she can return to class.
Good.
Man. Gotta give that girl an A.
Right?
Yeah.
Big heart.
What were they thinking? Give that girl an A.
Yes. Glad they had a change of heart.
Right.
That's it for us, guys, but our coverage continues online and on KHOU 11 News this morning. We'll have the latest information from the scene of that massive fire in Montrose. Check in with Ron, Lily, Cheetah, and Catherine starting at 4:30 a.m.
That does it for us. Have a great night. Late show's coming up next. We'll see you tomorrow. Sleep tight.